And now it's time for Why Did I Say That? With comedian Gibran Saleem. The podcast that dives into the messed up things people say and explores the reasons why. It begins now. Here's Gibran.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to Why Did I Say That with Gibran Saleem and special guest Gianmarco Soresi. We have an incredibly hilarious, intimate, funny, spiritual, emotional, you name an adjective, it's in this episode. Keep watching and thank you for tuning in.
No findom, financial domination. So it's like a woman will be like, "Hey, you dumb fucking pig, you gonna give me some money or you all out? You give me your ATM code." And it's something about like they blackmail you for money and they just get money out of you. And there was an older man who was doing it to me for a little bit, and like we didn't go very deep because I'm not into that. But she does it professionally, and she's a comedian too. But like, so I want to talk to her about findom. This guy used to give me a lot of money. He gave me a monthly tribute.
Wait, you did it?
Yeah, there's this older guy. He went to all these shows, and then he would sit in the front row and fall asleep. And then one day he's like, "Can I take you out to coffee?" And it was one of those like, I'm doing this because hopefully I'll get some material out of it.
Yeah, that's incredible.
He gave me a bank envelope, and he was like, it had said #Findom on it. He said, "Open it," and it was $200. He was like, "I'd like you to look into this. It's something I'm into." And God. So he'd give me a monthly tribute, and he'd say, "Do you want your monthly tribute?" And I was like, "Yes, please." And he'd say, "No, demand it from me. Call me a little
tribute."
Pig. Yeah, tribute.
That's so funny.
And my girlfriend was like fine with it until he said he wanted me to measure my penis and whatnot. And that was, first I was worried I'd send him. I didn't think in my head to lie. Yeah. For some reason I was
he just wanted, he didn't need proof of measurement.
No, he was just like measure it. And part of me was like, well, when he hears the measurements, he's no longer going to see me as the dom.
All you had to do was send him a dick size.
Dick size. I'm sure it would have. Oh,
it would have definitely escalated.
But he wanted me to call him like the F word. I was like, I'm not typing that out. Not in this day and age.
FAG?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Fuckface?
Yeah, I don't know what I mean, maybe it's just fuck.
Isn't it funny? I've never thought about just spelling it out. Like, as you spelled it out, I was like, I don't know if we're allowed to do that.
Yeah, are we allowed to do it?
That
you
does
can
make
spell
sense.
it out.
I wouldn't spell out the other word.
No.
No.
But would you say, all right, we're already going to get cancels here. Would you say N-word, not spell it out?
Say N-word. Yeah, I have a joke. I have a joke that has that.
Yeah.
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 That's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it has to be fun. You have a joke about it.
Yeah, but it's definitely a scary joke.
I would bet it's tricky.
It's tricky, but it's one of those
that stand by your N-word joke.
I stand by it, but it's one of those jokes where sometimes you have jokes where if it's an all-white audience, I don't think they know what they're supposed to be able to react to.
They have no
so
idea.
I can't. There's a lot of times. There's just every time it's an all-white audience, like, fuck, man.
Anytime I mention race, I prefer there to be more than white people. However, if there's one minority, that doesn't necessarily make it better. That adds just more pressure on the white audience because they're like, oh my God, we have to keep our eyes on him. We have to make sure he's okay. And we have to show that we're not racist by not laughing. But if there's a lot of black people or brown people or Asians, I don't know, or crippled people, whatever.
Sure.
There has to be almost more than one, or that one person is such a big laugher that
If there's one person wheelchair, they gotta be.
Oh,
roaring.
They have to be standing up. They have to be so into it that you're curing paralysis. Wait, so your girlfriend? But let's say you did text your dick size. Is it an open relationship? You don't have to tell me.
No, it's quite closed.
Okay, it's very close.
In a biblical way.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
What is it a biblical? Oh,
I guess she grew up Orthodox Jewish. So I just feel like the when you're raised religiously or Orthodox, I just think there's a rigidity even firmer than just general societal monogamy.
Yeah, the religious boundaries trump the freedom of Instagram.
Yeah, and I don't think it's like she's doing it because of religion, but I think that if you grow up in a religious community, monogamy and like the desire for like a one person is just even deeper in there, because I'm sure in that Orthodox community there are a lot of marriages that like they should get divorced, but they don't. As opposed to mine, people got divorced.
Dude, a while back I was hooking up with a girl.
Nice.
Thank you. Say no more. I'm sold. From an Orthodox Jewish community who was married. She never told me she was married.
Okay.
Someone else told me she was married. I mean, none of this makes me a good character. And she also has had a kid. I mean, she still has the kid. The kid didn't die. She had a kid. I didn't know she had a kid.
What did you know about this woman?
I knew enough to know that I'm not a good person.
Okay.
Probably.
You thought she was in a relationship.
No, I didn't think she was in a relationship.
Okay.
Well, I was told by someone else later that I think she's married. None of that stopped me.
Yeah. So you kept going after that.
I
Did it
wasn't
even make it better?
I didn't like aggressively
hotter.
chase her.
Sure.
It's a weird line because you're like, all right, but then they must not be happy. But I'm justifying my own
I don't have any
morality.
resentment. I think I never dealt with that. I would just be scared of getting killed.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, when you talk about like breaking up a family, that's when people do things
Fuck.
that get them in jail. That'd be my
Yeah.
thought. I don't think, obviously everyone always blames the mistress. What do you call a man, mistress? A mister?
A cool
mister?
guy.
A badass. Just a fucking badass.
Just a fucking take.
Yeah. She's
So I
fucking
wasn't
married,
sure,
dude.
but it's something that could happen. But she was married because later I asked her, and I know she had a kid because one time she came in a car and there was a booster seat.
Shit. I don't think I've ever had sex with someone who's had a kid.
Really?
No.
You haven't lived until they've given birth to someone who has. Famous words. I believe that's a Mark Twain quote. I mean, it's not like better.
Yeah, no, I doubt it. I didn't think that. Like, I think I was having this conversation with a friend. If you were with someone and they had a baby, newborn baby, and they were breastfeeding the baby, would you feel awkward having sex with them while they were breastfeeding the baby?
Like what, mid breastfeed?
Yeah, we're talking like a newborn. You just got home from the hospital. You've just created life. Like you're. Is that bad?
While she's breastfeeding, or like while she's just like in that phase?
Are you dating the person?
No, you're married. You're married. You just
Oh.
had a baby.
Are you?
I know not all of us are dating people with kids from a different person.
Are you asking like while the baby is breastfeeding, and
Yeah.
you're having sex? That's maybe a little.
But is it? But like, is it that weird?
I don't
is
think
it
it's
crazy?
that weird. I don't think it's crazy.
Okay, yeah,
But
that's all I'm saying. I don't think it's like
it seems
insane. I'm sure so many people have done it and
No,
don't talk
that
about
is
it.
absolutely insane. That's a
I
threesome
bet you. I bet you over half of people who have had kids. That if you gave them truth serum, they go, "Yeah, one time the baby was in the bed because it was up all night, and I had a raging boner.
Okay.
And I was breastfeeding, and the breastfeeding felt good on my boob.
No, but
and
I don't think breastfeeding feels good at all. Like I think
No.
everyone hates
I think
it.
there's a little bit of.
Gianmarco, that is not a common.
You're
I've
not fucking.
ever-
The baby's up here. You're down here.
It's not. I don't know how tall these women are. You're
I
imagining
promise.
that are breastfeeding,
I promise.
or how long
I
their
promise
titties
the
are.
number is at least a third. I promise. There's no
We
way.
need to do a
As in
poll.
like 33% of society.
33% of people who have had a baby have engaged in. I bet if we took a poll, have engaged
we
in
need to do a
some kind of
poll.
sexual activity with the baby in the bed.
No.
Yes.
Yes, 100%.
100%.
100%.
Yes.
It's a baby. The baby isn't even
The baby doesn't know.
there.
But it's your baby.
yeah.
Not that
Then
it'd be
you
better
just
if it
made
was
it.
a
How did
different
you make
baby?
the baby? By fucking your wife.
But not while she was holding a baby.
What, you're gonna have sex with your wife while she's pregnant, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So I mean, the dick is even closer to the baby there.
but it doesn't have conscious yet.
Really?
doesn't have a
At 8
conscience.
months? What's it do? Okay, so let me get this straight. So 9 months the baby's in there. You'd have sex before the baby's born. So you're supposed to have sex sometimes to induce contractions.
But the
so
thing
you'd be
is-
having sex. So you're saying that 6 hours later, 12 hours later, now it's some crazy.
Okay, the baby is in a private studio when you're having sex. And your dick is next
Private
door.
studio.
Yeah, but when you're holding the baby breastfeeding, this is how I breastfeed apparently. It's in the same room as you. But when it's in a womb, it's a penthouse that's in a basement.
I heard sometimes you can feel it though.
You could feel the baby?
Yeah.
What do you mean
Really?
you can feel the baby?
Like when you're,
Like the guy would feel the baby
yeah, the
on
guy
its
would feel
dick.
the baby.
God, that would freak me the fuck out. I could never have sex if I could feel
I don't know, but how
person.
could you differentiate like I don't know if my dick can like recognize that
can't even tell-
wasn't the interior wall, that was a hand.
God
No, not a
damn.
hand.
No, that's I can't even tell when a girl orgasms when I'm having sex. Maybe she's just not orgasming, but nonetheless, I can't tell. But man, I don't think I would ever have sex with someone while they were breastfeeding another baby. But you would.
I never said
think-
that. I didn't say
think-
that at all. For the record, I said I think
I thought-
a higher percentage of people.
Okay.
I don't know. I cannot possibly put myself in the shoes of what it's like to have a baby with a woman and be home the day after you created life and lying in a bed and feeling overwhelmed by the beauty of life. All I do know is that when you go to the zoo and you see gorillas or apes, which were DNA we're very close to, they're all sucking and fucking, and they're doing everything. And the baby's sucking on the grandma's tit, and everyone's sucking and fucking. And I go, clearly, we have some of these inclinations.
I haven't been to a zoo in a while.
Go to the zoo. You'll see it. You'll
I've
see them
never
all.
seen a breastfeeding while having sex.
You'll see them
You've
all.
seen that?
You'll see they do everything. I don't think like the grandpa fucks the baby like as a matter of course. I'm sure sometimes, but like but they're definitely like sexually and physically way more with each other than we are.
They're way more
I think it's
progressive,
sometimes crazy
for sure.
the way that like when we're with a baby, like if someone hands you a baby. Your hands, like you're touching their hands, you're touching their head. But if someone had like a 4-year-old boy, I would be like, oh, there's now these very strict boundaries.
Yeah,
but those are like
for sure.
societal. They're there for a reason because there's pedophiles out there. But there is kind of a thing of like, why when it was a baby was it fine to be like, let me see your toesies? But if you had an 8-year-old boy and you saw me come in with your 8-year-old boy and I was like, let me see those toes, it'd be weird.
Yeah.
But like, why is it weird? I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. I respect it. I respect the rules.
So
And I'm not saying I want to. It's just kind of weird that with babies we're really handsy. We're like, that's fine.
Yeah.
for sure. But also,
There's pedophiles for babies.
Yes. Have you heard
that's
of
what
the
a
Blake
pedophile
Lively thing?
is.
The what?
No. Have you like Blake Lively is like a huge like
Pedophile.
no.
Huge.
She's like part of some like she started a foundation for like I don't know what it is, like sex trafficking or something like that, like
In support of or against?
no,
Okay.
against it. So like she like had this whole speech of like this long story about how there's like a whole market for newborn like baby porn, like pornography, like people are like
I know.
into that.
I remember the first time when I like realized, like in my mind, I think like when you heard about child porn, you're like, oh, it's like teenagers or like boys. And then I remember the first time I was like, oh, fuck, you mean like fucking baby? And you're like, oh, I
that
feel
is,
sick.
like, so insane. Like, what the fuck?
Oh, it's insane.
But ultimately, you're
That's the
saying
official
how do you
position
get
of this
into that?
podcast is that
How do you get into
we're
that?
anti baby fucking. Oh,
Yeah,
just
fine.
even saying it is weird.
this episode is brought to you by.
Blake Lively. But ultimately, you wouldn't have sex with a woman who is breastfeeding, but you think people do more than you think.
I think I have no idea what it's like to have a baby with someone. I couldn't possibly put myself.
I also
In their
don't think
shoes?
we're considering the fact that I doubt the woman would want to have sex with someone while she's breastfeeding her baby.
Yeah.
This is very male scope.
Why do you think that?
Because breastfeeding is like a really gnarly experience.
I would
It's
I
like,
thought
assume-
when they're teething, but I thought like in the beginning it can be kind of like sweet.
no, I think like the first time it's like
Sweet.
What if
and
what
like,
if the baby started like? I can't even say what I'm about to say.
Say it. Say it.
No,
You're
I
onto
can't.
something.
No,
What if-
I don't know. You're right. It could be fucking weird. I just don't. think anyone knows what the kind of ways that you feel when you're like newborn parents and the baby's in the bed with you.
We
like
don't.
obviously you might be having sex while the baby's in the carriage right there because you have to. When else are you gonna have sex?
That
I'm just
I can understand.
Sure.
But
I'm
while
sure
you're
it's
holding a
happened
baby,
multiple times. It's got to have happened.
while someone was breastfeeding.
Yeah.
People are fucking babies, so clearly, like,
Yes.
that's
How
just not out of
long-
the realm of
How
possibility.
long does breastfeeding take where you can't wait 5 minutes to put the baby down?
Maybe you're
it's
just
not
like
you're over.
it's in the
you're-
moment.
It's in the heat
It's
of
in
the moment.
It's in the heat of the moment.
That is so crazy.
I don't
wonder if there's
think if someone
porn
told
where
me that they did that, I'd be like, ugh, you disgusting. I'd be like, well, you made human life. I mean, you just made this thing.
Yeah.
That's so open-minded.
I think that the fact that you don't see that you're like not weirdness of having sex with someone while they're pregnant.
Yeah.
I'm like, that is equally weird. I'm like, you're talking about like a sweet, and I'm like, what are you talking about? It's there. It's
so-
in the person.
Yeah.
Like it is
Yeah,
weird
I
too.
think that's weirder, honestly.
You think that's weirder than holding the baby?
I don't know if it's weirder.
Who's sucking your titty?
No,
That's definitely one category
You
of
can
porn
make
that
eye
that's a
contact
category of
with the
porn that's
baby.
I
weird.
think technically
And then-
it's kind of weird, but because like you're kind of like touching the baby with.
You're not kind of touching the baby. You're literally touching the baby. The baby's sucking on your nipple.
Okay, no, but like with your dick.
Your
like,
dick?
You're not.
That's a very interesting way to look at it. But you can't make eye contact with a fetus unless there's an ultrasound.
You can't make eye contact with the baby while they're breastfeeding. That'd be
Yeah, you can.
No.
no.
Look,
what's the baby gonna
Their
look,
faces.
stretch out the nipple?
I'm breastfeeding.
Baby's eyes are like
I'm
barely
looking at you.
open. No.
While I'm breastfeeding.
No, their like faces are turned to the
Yeah.
the
Yeah, but you
nipple.
think you're having sex in
And
like
their
a
face is,
perfectly
like, this
stand
big.
erect, no pun intended position?
You'd be having spoonie. It would definitely be like spoonie sex in my mind. I don't think she's doing like reverse cowgirl holding the baby.
She's like doggy style breastfeeding.
I promise. I'm gonna start asking married couples
Yeah,
with babies.
you
I'm like,
actually-
You should.
we
I
need
think
to do
I'm
a
going
poll.
to.
and then the real question would be like, would you tell your adult?
Would you tell?
Would you tell
who?
them when they're an adult? Like, just so you know, like,
No,
Oh,
I
God,
would. No,
no.
that makes it incredibly.
I'm gonna
That
ask my
makes it-
mom.
Yeah.
You should ask
I
your
will
mom.
ask my mom.
Ask
I have
your
no
mom.
problem asking my mom.
Okay.
Okay,
I'll
just
say
Interesting.
let us know what she
Did
says.
did
But
my
can
dad
you
ever fuck
handle
you?
a response that's a yes?
I'll make it uncomfortable for her. If she says yes, I'll be like, oh yeah,
Okay. Yeah. I mean, just asking her is enough discomfort.
yeah. Because my parents divorced, and so my dad dated a lot, and I met a lot of
Yeah.
women, and I grew close to them. Like being close just to another human being is tough enough, but for me to determine how close do I get to the kid would be just a true mind fuck for me.
Yeah. How old were you when your parents got divorced?
I was 6 months. I say 7 days on stage, but 6 months. About.
Okay.
something like that.
Wow. And then who did you live with?
I went back and forth from the get. I think
Man.
they just had joint custody. So I never remember them being together.
Yeah.
My mom remarried when I was like 3.5 years old
Yeah.
to my dad's former lawyer.
Wow.
Yeah, it was part of the
Divorce
settlement.
lawyer?
No. But definitely like strange, a little strange, a
Yeah.
little strange. And yeah, I just went back and forth my whole life. And so my mom, she got divorced way later.
Yeah.
But my dad dated, like, there were a lot of women
Yeah.
in my life. I don't even remember them all, but he slept with my kindergarten teacher, and then my
Wow.
mom, I think,
Oh
helped
my God.
get her fired for that. And
Wow.
then I always remember distinctly one woman who I liked a lot. Again, I don't remember her name. She had brown hair, and we used to play Monopoly a lot. And I remember her having to have like a second breakup with me, and she's and like kind of a like I'm going away because we were like close,
Yeah.
I remember distinctly asking her, like, are we ever going to get to play Monopoly again? And she was like,
Man.
oh, I'm going to be really busy at work, so I'll try. And like looking back, I'm like in my head, I'm like, how old was that woman? Because my dad dates younger, and I'm like, was that like a 25-year-old, like someone who I'd consider like a baby comedian now, telling a little kid like, oh, I'm never gonna see you again, kid.
Yeah.
And I think they were usually pretty sweet to me. I also know that my dad definitely would, if he was dating someone new, he'd buy a bunch of presents and give it to them to give to me, to like right out the gate be like, just, ooh, she comes bearing gifts.
That's a smart idea.
It is a smart, highly manipulative idea. It's nice. No, that's...
I don't know how you date with kids, man. I don't, because I imagine some people are like, I'm not introducing the kid until this is who I'm going to marry, I think.
Yeah.
And my dad might have held off. He might have held off for all I know. He's not very honest. And I think my dad's like a cheater. I know he cheats, but I think he's like a serial cheater.
Do you think you were an asset to his dating life?
I don't think so. My dad's like a good looking guy. Like he had no problem.
Yeah.
And I just saw the tactics that he would be like, tell the waiter to give the card to the woman at the table and like, hey, give her my card. And she'd look over, and he was good looking enough that like that sealed the deal.
Oh my God.
So
Wait,
like there was,
what do you mean?
like he'd say to the waiter, hey, you see that woman over there in the green dress? Can you bring her my business card?
Oh, yeah.
And the waiter would drop it off.
Okay, yeah.
And then she'd start blowing him under the table, and I'd be like, Dad, please, not again.
No, not again.
California Pizza Kitchen, please,
Let us play
Dad.
Monopoly first.
So I definitely like did not learn anything about picking up women from my dad, because my dad, he was in a different league. He was just a very good looking guy.
And you don't think you picked up some of those skills if you deem them as skills?
I
think they are skills.
Never have the confidence to.
Really?
But like I see women all the time, before my girlfriend, of course, and I go like, she's out of my league. And I do not think my dad thinks any woman is out of his league.
Yeah.
He thinks he's in the pros.
Yeah. But you're rising.
I do not.
You haven't been drafted yet.
A woman,
but you're in a relationship. So
I'm in a
it
relationship,
changes,
but
yeah.
like she made it. Women have to make it pretty clear to me that they're like into me. I'm not like taking big swings.
Yeah.
I just don't have the confidence.
Yeah. I've taken big
Yeah, it
big
sounds
swings
like it.
before.
I feel like
But not post pandemic.
I talk a lot about Eagle Witt, who we both know.
Oh yeah, I mean,
And
he's,
Eagle Witt's
he's
like,
a philanderer.
I mean,
if that's the right word.
he's
Not talking shit, but I mean, he does his thing, is what I mean.
I mean,
and he's open about it.
He's open about it, and I remember once
Promiscuous is the word.
Yeah,
Openly promiscuous.
he's in a relationship now.
Oh, he is.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
know he was in one for a while.
Yeah.
And it was fun to hear him talk about it.
Yeah. But we were at LOL once, and I just remember 3 women walked by to go take a shit or something, and he hit on every single one of them.
Yeah.
And I just remember one. I mean, it was incredible. And there was one, and he's like, "Hey, what's your Instagram?" And she said, "Oh, thank you, but my boyfriend's. I'm here with my boyfriend." He said, "Can you do me a favor? Can you do me a favor? Tell him he's the luckiest guy in the world." And she said, "All right, my Instagram is ba ba ba." And gave him his Instagram. Her boyfriend's in the other room, and I was just sitting there like, Jesus,
holy crap!
Christ Almighty! I've never seen anything like it.
Oh
Just
my
when you
God.
recognize that, like we're different kinds of men, like deeply different kinds of men.
That's also a physical risk.
I
mean, if she actually
no
told him
doubt.
that, the dude would come back, and I would fear he would punch me in the face.
No
probably
doubt.
my dick.
And Eagle's a good-looking guy, but
Yeah.
I don't know if he's the strongest guy in the world. I think someone could knock Eagle out.
Wow.
That's so funny.
I couldn't.
So you've been a pretty monogamous guy.
Yeah. I just like went through. I one long 2 relationships in high school, one long one in college, and then it was a sad breakup. Just made me very depressed.
Of course.
And for like
It'd be
6
weird
or
if
7
it was a
years,
happy breakup.
Sure.
Oh man, I was so ecstatic.
But it was like 6 or 7 years of like once in a while I'd meet someone, I'd do a play with someone who I connected with, but I didn't really use the dating apps. It didn't vibe with me. I wasn't
apps.
outgoing.
Yeah.
And so like there were long periods of my life. There were definitely 2 or so times in my life from the time I had sex for the first time where I didn't have sex, like a year-long period, just because I just wouldn't go out, and I didn't the drive for sex didn't overpower my like going out.
I was
meeting
like that
new people
last year to the point where part of me was just like, do I even know how to have sex anymore? Am I ever gonna have sex again?
We
It
all
just
saw that
feels
during
like
the
that.
pandemic. During the beginning, there were like three women when quarantine, 4 or 5 months into quarantine, and you heard like, oh, some people are having sex.
Yeah.
And I text like old flames.
For sure.
And I never had the chutzpah to be like, hey, look. And it probably would have worked. Hey, look, we could all die soon.
Yeah.
Let's bone it out. But I would just
Let's
be like,
die together.
hey, how's your quar going? And then we'd talk about it a little, and then it would end.
No,
and I didn't have the chutzpah to say, hey, don't you probably desperately want to touch a body, and me too, and let's just do it.
No,
I don't have it in me.
No, but I think you're testing the waters. You have to do a test the water text to reconnect with it. And then you say, let's hang out sometime. If you really want to hang out.
Sure.
I mean, I would imagine you're probably assessing yourself and what you want within the constraints of interacting with them.
Yeah, but sometimes it hits that point where you're like, I can't tell if like I'm supposed to. Yeah, it's bad.
Yeah.
So pathetic. I mean, and I know in my head, I'm like, oh, every woman I'm texting knows what I'm doing.
Yeah.
How's your? Oh, I haven't talked to you in 2 years. How's your quarantine going? We all know what's up. But somehow I think like,
no, but that
I'll play it
doesn't
safe.
mean you want to have sex with them.
I would never text a woman otherwise. I'm just
I texted
kidding. I'm just kidding.
No, but I texted one of my exes during the pandemic, like the meat of the pandemic. I wasn't trying to have sex with them. I don't even know. Sometimes I don't know my own intentions. I wasn't trying to have sex because I knew they were in a relationship, or maybe I was trying to see if they're still in the relationship, or I don't know what my intentions were. But when she was like, yeah, this is scary or whatever, do you know anyone who has it? And I was really stupid and said, yeah, I texted one of my other exes and they got it. Or I said my ex has it, and the girl just stopped texting me right away.
Wow.
Because I just mentioned X and it wasn't referring to her. And I was like, I shouldn't have said that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because now she's like, oh, so I'm just on the list. I'm just on your to-do list today.
I do think in like 5 years or 10 years, people start being honest about how they behaved those first couple months. And some people be like, oh, yeah, I was going out every weekend.
Yeah.
I was very good in the beginning. And then, at one point there was like later, like there was like, you quarantined and then you saw a couple friends, but we all were figuring it out. We all had different versions. And like, I wasn't in the first wave of comedy, people doing comedy in Florida or whatever, but I was in like the later end of 2020, like doing one time in Connecticut in a big casino and being like terrified, and we were all gonna wear masks, but then the people come out. I mean, it was horrible. It was all a horrible, terrible time. You're doing outdoor shows, but you got in a car with someone. They took off their mask. What are you gonna say? Put your fucking mask back on. Keep driving the car from me.
Yeah.
What a nightmare. The psychological impacts. I think about it all the time. Whenever I feel something feels off, I'm like, yeah, we're all just like. We went through something really crazy. You can't
be expected to know exactly what's right. Sometimes you have to fuck it up or do something that makes you uncomfortable. Just be like, oh, yeah, that wasn't the best way to handle it.
Yeah.
Or maybe I shouldn't have coughed in their mouth or whatever happened over the pandemic.
Grandma.
Yeah.
I feel like we're all like changed for life. Like everyone,
for sure.
Like
I think a lot about I have 2 younger siblings that were in college during this period. I'm like, they went to college for a year and a half, and in the middle of that, they sat in a room getting high and like realized that, oh, that's not the dream. Just getting high for a year. Like they're socially, all sorts of
social
I feel fucked up, and I'm in my
Yeah.
30s, and I'm like, what would it be like if I was 18 or 19 or
God, I would have those are fundamental years to develop social skills.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to be slightly stunted. I don't know how.
Especially like just starting out like a freshman in college. Like that's how you when you meet everyone. Like
Yeah.
you're not gonna have any friends.
Or graduate. Just like some of these kids who like they didn't get to see their friends for the final year, and so
Yeah.
they go off in the real world and like, do they get to have you?
I was abroad in Italy when it happened.
Oh my
and
God.
I got
Oh,
like I was
wow.
there for like
I
not even
saw you
a full
on the
month.
balcony. You were singing the song.
Yeah, she was.
That was me.
You were there for that part though?
I was there like it was before COVID had hit the US. Like
Uh-huh.
I went to NYU. NYU like one night like emailed everyone, you guys have to get the fuck out of here like tomorrow. Like, and I literally, my dad like booked me a flight like, and I left the next day.
Man,
Wow.
I remember my stepfather, he came up to New York soon before it all was going down, and he works like, I'm sure it's problematic, but some government lawyer high tech thing, and he was like yeah, it's like he kind of told me what was about to happen, and I was like,
Yeah.
oh, I sure hope not. That would really mess
Yeah.
with my life a little bit.
What, he told you what was about to happen, like the
Just like he's
the
like,
world was
yeah,
gonna shut
like
down?
like it's really bad.
Oh
Like-
wow.
Like I
Like-
came back to California and it was like everything was still normal in the US. Like nothing was weird yet.
Did it almost feel like,
And
that
I
was
had-
dumb?
Yeah, I had like other friends still abroad in other places. They were still there. They still got to stay for like maybe a month longer. And then like I guess March was when like I remember St. Patrick's Day actually was when we went into lockdown.
What was that, March?
17th.
Bro.
2 days after.
Bro, it was worst. It was the worst of times.
It's so
It
crazy.
was the
worst
Like I
sighting.
think about all the time how like crazy it is that happened to us.
Let
And it's still like happening.
let me ask you this, completely unrelated, because I want to tell you something. Have you ever went in to kiss someone and then got rejected by the kiss?
Yeah, hardcore.
Really?
This is like high school. I'm just trying to think. This is definitely probably the only like real one where it was this woman who went by Scylla, and she had a crush on me the year before. She was a year
Scylla
above
sounds
me.
like an old lady who works at a library.
She definitely could be doing that now. She was like a fun, quirky theater person, and I was a theater kid.
Yeah.
And the year before, she had like a crush on me, like definitely, and I
Yeah.
wasn't into her. And then I don't even know if I was into her after, or I was just like so horny. And we went out to a movie, and my tactic at the time was, I jokingly, so my friends called it like the bear trap, where I just put that hand on the armrest. It's all so clunky when you're that age. And the goal was like, she'd, in a moment of laughter or there's a scary moment, her hand would kind of go there, and then that would be me trying
like
to hold her hand.
You're sitting next to her?
Sitting next to her. So there would
and
be
then in between you put your hand down.
just like, yeah, on the armrest, kind of like it's here. And I guess bear trap is, this is a pre Me Too world. I would never call a romance technique the trap of any
Yes,
sort. But I saw that bear trap is in like, once her hand's in mine,
she can never
She's
let
trapped.
go.
she can never let go. It was just, and then
You created the term bear trap.
yeah, I regret.
That is
And we were holding hands, I think, and
okay.
and then
She fell for the trap.
yeah, but like in your head you're like, oh, I think her thumb's moving, and
Yeah.
just
the
horrible,
details.
horrible. And I'm pretty sure like I went for a full on like 180 pivot of my body, and
Boom.
she was like, no, thank you, and then we watched the rest of the movie, and man, I was humiliated. It was
Wow.
horrible. And then I think we like left, and she was like, I don't know if we addressed it, but it was definitely like
No.
a shocking moment, and it was also it also was like a learning lesson of like, oh yeah, she did like me, but that doesn't mean she just always likes me. That doesn't mean this woman's just available whenever I should a pandemic hit and I text, hey, you up? Like I just remember the time, you're so young and dumb. You're like,
Yeah.
what the fuck? I thought she liked me. I guess she doesn't. But that hurt. That shook me up so much. That's why, like, I'm like, I will
course.
never. go for a kiss. I've had since that time. I went on a date with a woman once. I remember we were at a bar, and then at some point I finally put my hand on her knee, and she went, "There you go." And I'm like, that's what I turned into.
You never know, though. Everyone's so different.
Everyone's
People
so different.
And people communicate. It's hard to interpret because they're not always communicating. Like some girls or men, I don't know, are just ready to rock. And they want you to just like go in, and then other girls are like, if you wink, they're like, whoa,
of course,
take it down a notch.
And looking at the course of the world, I'm like, you know what, better
the
guy that waits a little too long to put the hand on the knee than anything else.
Yeah, I would think women have to respect playing it slow.
You'd think. I think she was very much like, oh my God, finally.
Yeah,
she
there
made
you go.
her displeasure known.
Wow. How did the rest of the day go?
We ended up going back to her place and we had sex. It wasn't very good. It just wasn't, the chemistry wasn't there.
When you came, was she like, there you go?
There you go. And I have a feeling like it was, she wanted a one night thing. We had known each other before though.
Yeah.
Because I remember I tried to do a second date. I bought us 2 tickets to La La Land.
Oh, that's cute.
That dates it exactly. It was La La Land.
So
and she like canceled last minute.
Yeah.
And kind of offered to pay, and I took her up on that offer for the money back.
Yeah, of course.
And I think I saw it with a guy friend.
Wait, she bought you the tickets?
No, I bought both, and then she like canceled on me last second.
She offered to pay, yeah.
And to her credit, offered to reimburse me for the ticket.
Did she reimburse you?
Oh yeah.
Oh, nice.
Rightfully so.
Rightfully so.
And so it's just 2 bros hanging out watching a musical.
2 bros hanging out.
Nice. I think my worst kiss rejection was I was in an old apartment, and I bought, this isn't important to the story, but I bought a maternity pillow.
Why?
It's kind of like shaped, it's like a giant, it's shaped like a snake, and it's like you can go like this and put it between your knees, but it kind of like goes here. So if you had a pregnant stomach, this is so weird that I even had that it would like prop your stomach up if you wanted it to like relieve pressure from your lower back, and then it like curls, and then you can put your head on it. But even if you're not pregnant, it's like a nice pillow to have. It's like a full snuggle pillow when no one else is around.
I get it.
So this girl came over. I didn't know what the dynamic was. I had no idea what the dynamic was. It wasn't like an official date or anything. We're sitting on my couch, and there's like a clock in my head that's like, I gotta make a move. Nothing happens. We go to my bed, and then we're on my bed. But keep in mind, this is a New York apartment, so my bed is the room. So it's not like, I mean, there was a desk. She didn't have to sit at the bed, but there weren't that many options.
Yeah.
So we're on my bed, we're talking, and then my game is like, have you ever seen a maternity pillow? Look, it's so cool. Look, check it out. You can rest your pregnant stomach on it. She wasn't pregnant. And then my little sister was visiting, coming into town, and she was on the way, but not like loosely, like, I'm on the way. And like, okay, that could be like 2 hours. And then my little sister texted me. And in my head, even before the text, I'm like, all right, I got to make a move. This girl's on my bed. We wouldn't be in my room on my bed if she wasn't okay with me making a move.
Yeah.
My little sister texted me saying, hey, I should be there in a couple minutes. I'm all right, cool. And I think I told a girl that too. I don't know if I'm pretty sure I said, oh, my sister's on her way or something.
So we gotta get this.
So now there's like time. And I'm like, I gotta make a move. So I just lean in.
That's amazing that your sister's gonna be there in minutes.
Yeah.
And you're like, I gotta get this in.
I could never do
but
that.
But I know the second my sister's there, I can't. The game has ended. So,
I would love to do that and like make my sister uncomfortable like that. That's the kind of relationship.
But my sister didn't know.
Sure.
Oh, if you're on a date,
love it. My sister came in and I'd be
room?
like, I'll be right there, Victoria.
Yeah.
Just gotta make out.
Just gotta go in for a kiss. So then I went in to kiss the girl, and she didn't just turn away or like, Matrix style. She audibly said, oh no. It destroyed me. The oh no. Oh no is what you say when you open the closet and there's a man in a scream mask holding a blade.
Oh my god.
And I was like, geez, like that's not even just a neutral rejection. That is like, you disgust me.
wow.
I need to transport using a teleportation device to safety.
Oh no. What did you say?
Oh no.
I feel like I couldn't resist being like, I'm so sorry.
I think I just froze. I think I didn't know. I think I quickly transitioned into like, yeah, so it's like raining outside. That's crazy.
Wow.
You just some tangential
Oh my
side
gosh.
conversation to just be like, yeah, this is the Super Bowl's crazy. What? Right? Like, but all I could think was, fuck.
That does have to be tough for like a woman or any relationship in like when you're dating in New York and you're living in these cheap apartments. It's like, well,
Yeah.
she was in the bedroom. Yeah, I was also in the kitchen. Like
Yeah.
these are the same. There's one
Studio.
room.
The kitchen is the bedroom.
It always is weird. I remember living in one space where like, yeah, you walk in and the bed's there, and there's just something about like a bed, and you're like,
I've been to guys' places where I'm like, this is too much. Like, what are
walking
you
over.
trying
Are we
to do
about
here?
to fuck right now?
Yeah, like, whoa, take it easy, bro. We could have went to a bar. But she said, oh no. And it destroyed me. I don't think we ever hung out again. And when I saw her in person or we talked or whatever, it was maybe I don't know what was going on in her head, but that's all I could think in my head. And I'm like, oh fuck, I'm embarrassed 100 all the time if I see her. I'm like, fuck.
And do you think like she just like didn't like you at all?
I don't think she was interested in me at all.
Yeah, it really is like,
Because she didn't seem like the girl who would be that dating conservative. Maybe she just saw me as a friend. I used to get friend zoned a lot. So
it's so hard because like now as an adult, like I think about like, I remember like once I had a woman over to my apartment and we got like super stoned, and I guess in my mind I was like, oh, we're getting stoned. Like stoned means like we want to hook up, and like I was like, let me scoot next to her on the couch. And she kind of scooched away, and like now
That's happened to
immediately,
me before,
right away,
too.
I know like as
Yeah.
like a 33-year-old man, I'd be like, oh,
That's the vibe.
that's the vibe.
yeah.
But like in the time, like, all right.
Yeah.
We'll get some food later, and I'll scooch again. And it's
Yeah,
like
just playing scooch hard to
this is it all. It always feels stressful to like talk because it's like, well, guys obviously go way further than that.
For
But
sure.
it was just for me. It was just like the scooching, and I'm like, that first scooch, that's all you need
Yes.
to know.
Yeah.
Sit back and
Totally.
enjoy the movie.
Yeah.
And really
Yeah.
invest in the storyline because your story is not a romance.
Yeah.
This is a buddy comedy for
Yeah.
the rest of your life. For the rest of your life.
For the rest of your life. Well,
See, that's
things
the
can
not for the-
change.
Sure,
Not
but
during-
not that
in
night.
Not
in
over the
that
course
moment.
of Forrest
night.
Gump.
Your conversation is not going to be so sick
No,
that they go,
no,
okay.
yeah. Is there, Sophia, is there ever a time where you may scooch away from someone, but you're actually interested in them?
No, I wouldn't scooch away if I was interested in
No, or like you're shy? This is me being so optimistically.
No.
This
Like
is-
you
I
want them
wouldn't.
like so bad
If I
that
was
You're
like,
like, oh my
scared.
God.
I'm down. Let's go.
Okay, yeah. Yeah.
It's just where like I remember calling my brother and he in high school, and you're like, because we don't talk about sex a lot in America, there's like we have no way to even talk about these things. Like the kinds of things that I was supposed to navigate at 15. So I'm looking back, I'm like, that's insane. That's
Yeah.
insane. That's insane. But it's also like, well, we don't talk about this in an open way. So I just tried to
No.
have that talk with my brother where I was like, babe, just ask
What's his name?
Joseph.
Okay.
And he's a good kid. But I was just like that thing where I was just like, just ask. Even if it's like weird and like it feels like awkward and you're being a nerd, just ask.
Yeah.
And like if anything feels weird or like off, just leave. Like
Yeah.
that's
That's
good.
Yeah.
And it's not like you can't just say that to someone and like have a communication. But I was trying like man to man be like, hey, This is the line you need to like think in yourself and like because clearly some kids your age they fucking don't get this.
As soon as you said you started talking about your brother, it sounded like you said, and I was just like, babe. I think I misheard you because I was like, what's his name?
I call my brother babe.
And I was like,
babe.
oh, maybe his name is like Gabe, and it sounded
No,
like
I
he
call
called his.
I call my loved ones babe, including my guys.
I wasn't sure. But yeah, you gave him advice, which you never
more
had.
advice. I was like, you know, he went to an all boys school, and like you just worry about the mentality that's fostered in it.
Sure.
Yeah.
God, all boys school as far as social skills with women.
Yeah, and you just don't. You know, you're always surprised you hear like whatever guys it was. Like sometimes you're like, yeah, fucking that fucking creep, and then other times you're like, oh my god, what?
Yeah.
So it's just like. It's how do you instill lessons about a taboo subject that you don't talk about?
Yeah.
But I mean, I think he does pretty well with the ladies.
Earlier this month, I was on a date. I was hanging out with a girl. We're at a bar. We got food. We went to a show. At a bar, sitting in a corner of a bar like this. All these details are not necessary. I don't know why I always feel the need to like paint out the details, paint out the setting, give you the ambiance, the vibes. But she's next to me. I'm here. She's here. And then thighs touching. So I'm like, all right, thighs touching. All right, that's a sign. She didn't scooch the thigh away.
Sure.
You know, at one point I put my arm around her. She's cool with it. I'm like, all right, cool. It was also slightly awkward because of my arms around her. I'm like, well, what do I do with my hand?
Yeah.
Not like a canceling weird, but I'm like, is this a weird position? I'm also just like, is my arm too heavy? Like my arm's got to be too heavy. Like I started overthinking things.
Yeah, I mean, men, we've put ourselves in some physically horrible positions just
like,
because
yeah,
we're like, we're all good. My arm's asleep. I feel like it's gonna fall off, but it's like, around her, and
then
I'm
once
not.
I take it off, I'm like, well, I can't go back again.
Yeah,
so I just have to suffer. So I put my hand. Her head's here. Let's pretend my head is her head, and I just went like that.
Oh my god!
Which is so weird. I didn't.
God.
I didn't know what to do with my hand, so I gave her like a good job, kid scratch on the head, like I'm taking her to baseball practice. It was.
And was she like, oh no?
No. She was fine with it because my vibes are very silly.
Sure.
So if I do something silly and weird, I can laugh at myself. And even if it's maybe my emotional through line is I'm self-aware that was weird, they're kind of relaxed.
Yeah.
Because I'm never taking myself too seriously, and they kind of know that.
Yeah.
And for them to be on a date, they're probably already aware of my vibes.
Yeah.
But then, as my arm was around here, so keep in mind, I'm not drinking. She's drinking. She's drinking beer. I have a soda water lime. And I don't drink, and she's cool with that. She knows, whatever. But I pull her in at a bar, public setting, but we're kind of in the shadows. Okay. And I like go to kiss her, and it's closed lips on her part. And I'm like, all right. So then now I'm just like, all right, well, do I escalate a close kiss? It's weird to turn your head and just peck someone, right? That's kind of weird to peck someone and I'm like, all right, is she pecking me? And I'm like, is this more than a peck? Like, I didn't understand. So I pecked her more.
Oh my god,
this is so weird.
I just see you like this,
and then I'm like, wait, is she a bad kisser? And
this is your ex.
No, this wasn't my.
Oh, this was not your ex. Oh, no, I see. You're worried about talking about this because you're talking.
So
about
then I'm like,
got it.
All right, am I making out? But like, mouth closed, open it. Okay, here's the thing. Physically, her body language was not pushing away. So everything remained the same. So I'm like, what is happening with this kiss? So I try to like maybe stick my tongue a little, and her lips were still closed. And I'm like, what the fuck is happening, right? And I didn't know what to do, so I just like pecked it. I just did like a closing peck, like the encore of pecking. Like the audience wanted more of pecking mouth closed, and then I like pull away, and then we didn't talk about it. And then I think I did say something. It felt weird. I don't know what I said. Whatever I said, it wasn't completely addressing it, but she was like, "Oh, I thought you don't drink." acknowledging that she had a beer and I didn't. So then I'm like, oh, so she was worried about open mouthing because she didn't want her alcohol mouth and my non-alcohol mouth. So in my head, I'm
Really?
like, oh, that was so considerate on her part. And I was like,
that a
hey, I'm not
thing?
that extreme. Like, I don't care.
Yeah.
And I was like, I mean, in a way, it's almost a way for me to taste what you're drinking without tasting what you're drinking.
Sure.
I'm not going to die from having alcohol. I just like cut down on the pandemic. And so then it was fine. We never talked about it. And then at the end of the date, I'm walking her. She took a bus home. It feels weird to say that, but she took a bus home and we're walking. It was near LOL. 8th Ave. And then we're walking and the bus is like coming. And I was like, do I even walk to the bus? I don't even know what I'm doing. I was like, am I supposed to cross the street with you? And then I'm like, wait, it's probably rude if I don't.
Sure.
So we get near where the bus is going to come, and I'm just kind of slowly walking. And then she, like, kind of grabs my arm. And I was like, oh, that's nice.
Wait, what do you, like?
But there was a bunch of trash. There was a bunch of trash. So she didn't. So I thought she was grabbing my arm like a nice, like, oh, datey, like, oh, let me grab my guy's arm kind of thing. But it was actually more of like a push forward because the bus stop. The bus doesn't stop in front of the trash bag. So she was really like pushing me. Not aggressively, but like she was almost motioning me to keep moving.
Sure.
But I thought this was the bus stop. And then before the bus was going to come, this is such a weird
She's
date
moving you and
ending.
you're like, right here?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then now that there's a whole kiss interaction, I'm like, all right, well, how do I end the date?
Uh-huh.
I don't even know did I get rejected in the kiss? Was she being so considerate of alcohol? Which I didn't need that consideration, but like, so as we're like saying goodbye, there's so many split seconds that your brain has to like do like ultimate super fast chess.
Yeah.
And as we're getting close, I'm like, okay, so we're doing lips. And then boom, slight turn. And I'm like, fuck. And I just slight turned with her and lipped it. And I just and so I kissed her on the lips, but it was like the side of her lip. I didn't understand what was happening.
So when are you seeing her again?
No idea.
Are you still in talks with her?
Yeah, we talked today.
So
Wait, is this
obviously you did okay.
Last night?
I think it was completely fine. It was recent.
Yeah, if they're still talking, I mean, if she's still talking, the way you described it sounded like she moved to a different state after this interaction. But if she's still talking to you,
sounded
probably
like she was taking a bus to Kansas.
Yeah.
No, go past Harlem, take a left. I'm like, okay.
I would like if the bus driver was like, "Come on, kiss the girl."
Give him a chance.
I remember I was doing a summer camp. It was all bad. But I had a girlfriend, but we had gone on a break. I started dating someone else during the summer camp. That girlfriend had surprised me at the final performance. It was a musical theater camp.
Oh,
and, surprised me. And it was like, I was not, even though we were on a break, it was a break I initiated. It was bad. It was not good behavior on my part. But she surprised me. And this woman I was seeing at the camp, was convinced immediately that I was cheating on her with this old girlfriend, and texted me I'm around the corner, come see me, I'm saying goodbye. And it was very sudden and very fast. And she was sobbing, and she was like, I know you're fucking cheating on me. It was wild to truly be accused of something where you're like, I don't know what you're
talking
talking about.
at summer camp, and this was a girl you were dating while you were in summer?
So she was at the camp too, and we both performed on this showcase together.
Okay.
And we were we were a summer fling. We were just a summer fling.
Yeah.
And then my on break girlfriend from college,
Okay.
showed up to the showcase to be supportive. I mean, she was very sweet.
Oh,
And
but you guys weren't.
we were on a
officially
break.
You were on an official
but
break.
she was official.
Okay.
But
okay.
But a
Okay.
break that I had been
You initiated.
we got to go on this. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want to act like it wasn't I also was being an asshole.
Yeah.
It wasn't cheating full out, but it was hey, I need to go to break right now. 'Cause
Yeah. I gotta perform.
There's
in the
someone here
summer.
that I really want to fuck.
Yeah.
And so this girl at the camp saw this other woman and was convinced, created a whole narrative. And this is all such a horrible, one of the worst moments of what I've been. And I went around the corner and she was sobbing. She's like, "You're cheating on me." And I got down on my knees. I was like, "I swear to God, I'm not." That she was surprised me. And there was like a woman in a taxi cab, like waiting for the light. And she was like, "Forgive him, honey. Forgive him, honey. He's clearly sorry." And it was so, like, the moment was so intense. There was no levity to the moment. So there was no even like being like, "Listen to her. Come on, sweetheart." But it was one of those like where the city is just we all have had drama happen to us.
City.
Like, yeah, because it was a summer camp at Circle in the Square.
Yeah, I'm picturing the woods, and I'm like, so there's just some lady in a taxi.
It was a theater
just casually driving by the forest
on a major street, and we've all had drama in New York, and people interact with you, and I was having an intense conversation with my girlfriend on the phone. And some guy, I'm still on the phone, like talking, and some guy's like, "Hey, brother, can I buy you a drink? I've been where you've been." And like, I'm like, part of me is like, I know you're trying to be like sweet, like something about this is sweet.
It's weird,
but
though.
I wouldn't in a million years go with you to a bar to talk. Like this feels.
She's still on the phone.
She's still on
it's
the
not
phone.
over yet, man.
She's still on the phone, and I was like, I tried to be nice, but I was not in a fun place. So I was like, thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you. I have to, I'm still on the phone, as you heard.
Yeah.
But it's just like sometimes the city interacts with your personal drama.
Yeah.
And, it's part of your story.
Wait, what happened at the summer camp? Also, as soon as you say summer camp, I think you're like 12 or 13, but you're like, no, this was college.
This was college. This was so bad.
So you're on your knees.
I'm on my knees. I'm like, I swear to God. And we had like 3 days left of like camp. This was to showcase was the end of camp. We were in New York for 3 more days.
And what was your relationship with the girl in the summer camp?
With the summer camp, it was just like
it was a fling. So you guys hooked up.
It was a fling, but it was like all the summer romance and like passion and acting and sex and
okay.
It was
sex
a lot
involved.
of fun. Yeah.
Nice.
It was like. But it was like fun, and my dad was like giving me a lot of like money to explore New York. So we were just living a kind of absurd dreamlike life. Like this is my father, where he like for the last night. I mean, this is gross, but he like got us a room at the Waldorf Astoria.
Wow.
Because I think he was
fun.
like he's like, "Go have sex, my son.
Wow.
Enjoy your youth."
Yeah.
And this is where it gets really bad, because the woman who from the college, who ended up, when I got back to college, we ended up getting back together, and she was the long relationship.
Okay.
But in this moment we were on a break, or we were over. I didn't, and I was with this person. And we have 3 days left for the rest of our relationship. I know we're not hanging out again. This is actually the woman that kind of got me started on stand-up because of something she texted me. And she was like, "You're cheating on me. I'm going to go." And I was like, "Let me go with you." And I went with her, but basically the woman from college who I dated, and we were like close, emotionally close too. I like essentially just left her hanging because she had like come to the show to talk, and this woman thought I was cheating on her with this woman, so I just like left with this woman to kind of reassure her that I wasn't cheating or anything.
Yeah.
And I like this like this ex who I was close to, and we had who I had essentially abandoned for the summer, was just left like, where did he go? And this woman who thought I was cheating on her was like at one point she went through my phone in the bathroom and saw that I had someone randomly had texted me, "Hey, do you have,"
wow,
let's just call her Susan, the college girl, "Do you have Susan's number?" She was like, "You see, someone texted you to do Susan's number. You were talking to her." And I was like,
God.
"No, that was a coincidence. This is crazy."
Was this all within like a couple hours? Like, did she stay for the next 3 days, or was this that
For the
intense of a?
No, it was she had just gone to surprise me at this thing. It's so heartbreaking.
So she was Oh, I guess it's in New York, so it's different. It's not like she went to Texas.
She had like which one are we? So okay, let's say.
Okay, so fling versus non-fling girl.
Yeah.
Okay,
college versus summer. So college was there, like she was doing something in the city, and surprised me at the thing, and it was just like the worst. It was just the worst.
Did you get a chance to talk to her, or you already left?
Later, like we got back to college, and it was very emotional, and then we were just close, and like eventually we saw each other again. We had class. I mean, we were in every class together.
Yeah.
And eventually it just kind of went back, and she forgave me with a speed that it's like she probably shouldn't have. I mean, it was bad. It was bad. But it was also, it was tough.
Yeah.
This person thought was like this person, my behavior is not excusable, but this person was like accusing me of like this wild fantasy of cheating, and I was like, I don't know how to deal with this. This is not true. But if I even go talk to and be like nice or polite, this adds to your entirely imagined narrative.
I mean, she had an entire summer to build up this cheat fantasy and then decorate it with ornate details of like, and then they make eye contact and wink at each other at 6 p.m. every night. Like some...
And it was one of those things where I would like, I went to the college person and I like messaged them like as if I were cheating, just being like, hey, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to abandon you at the theater. I don't know what's going on.
That's nice.
No, that's good that you did.
That's great.
Please, that is the one step above. Go fuck yourself. I mean, it was. I just didn't know what to do. And looking back, you're like,
but you were also on a break.
You're on a break.
So
but looking back, I would have said to this summer person, I would hope I'm this person now, where I would have said to summer person, hey, what you're saying is not true. Yeah. This person, though, is close to me, and I'm not going to just be a fucking cunt to them because you're having this. I'm happy to talk to you later, but I'm not. But in the moment, I was so swept up with this idea that she's leaving.
Course.
She's leaving. She's disappearing. She's vanishing. That I was like,
which is
fuck
somewhat of
everything
a
else.
reality. It's kind of hard in that moment to think differently. She's there, she's visiting you, and she holds more weight emotionally than the summer fling, unfortunately.
Well, at the time, I didn't think so. At the time, I thought maybe the summer fling was, again, we were at acting camp, we were young.
Like it might come in, it might evolve.
Yeah, and I think like there's like an age where like if you're having sex, like it feels like it means so much, or it's just like sex and love becomes so intertwined.
For sure.
Whereas opposed to like now, I'd be like, I'd be like, oh, I miss having sex, but this is too much. This is too much.
Yeah.
I think there's definitely an age where, and for some men, it's clearly it doesn't happen. But like for me, there's an age where it's like, sex is nice, but I'd rather have peace.
Agreed. Yeah.
And it was, and then so this woman, there was really bad, really. I was not really bad behavior. I mean, I think anyone who's honest with themselves look back at their college.
Of course,
self
you
and goes
can't
like,
go through life
what
without
a piece of
regretting
shit.
anything.
But essentially, I thought I was going to see this woman again this summer fling for winter break. We were going to like do a week vacation, whatever. Terrible. And when I went back to college, I was with the college person and I like made known, like, just so you know, like I'm open now, essentially. And bad stuff.
Open as in you're available.
Open as in like we can hook up, but I'm going to see this summer person for winter break, and that's like
good though.
That's on the books.
That's everything's on the table.
Yeah, but like some people, just because someone's like says like okay, doesn't mean that you're not wounding them tremendously.
Yeah,
and you have some responsibility to be like, I'm clearly.
Yeah.
But then it all fell apart. Obviously, these reconnections rarely occur. And this woman, the summer fling, very passively aggressively texted me once like, hey, sorry, do you remember what kind of KY we used? And that became my first stand-up bit of like an ex being like, just out of the blue being
That's
like,
funny.
hey, do you remember what KY I used? And my bit was like, that's like saying, hey, I just want you to know I'm having sex.
Yeah,
I'm having so much sex that my naturally bodily lubricants are not nearly enough to facilitate the incredible amounts of sex that I'm having. And while I don't miss you as a human being, I really miss that KY you brought to the table.
Yeah.
And I feel like that text was one of those first life moments where I was like, I got to tell people about this.
Yeah.
I got to tell people about this insane thing that happened to me.
The KY bit.
That's funny.
So I learned a lot, and God bless that person in college who we ended up having a very long relationship for being with me during that time where I feel like I was the worst.
I mean, you got
version of
on
myself.
your knees and apologize. It's kind of hard to say to not forgive someone who's literally on their knees? You were literally begging for forgiveness.
Yeah, it's true. It's been a while. I'm trying to think. I feel like
I don't think
maybe
I've
once-
ever gotten on my knees and apologized. I've said sorry and I've like really felt it, but I've never gotten on my knees.
Save it for when you really fuck up.
Yeah.
Get on the knees.
Yeah.
I think I've gone on my knees once or twice before, but I'm a dramatic
Yeah.
guy.
You're also into Find Dumb.
Um,
I feel like you've been trained.
Yeah, maybe I just have to apologize harder.
No. That's an incredible apology.
Yeah, it was intense. I was crying too. I mean, it was
Fuck. Wow.
That's intense.
Yeah.
You're also so in touch with your emotions from theater.
I don't think I was enough. That's why I didn't stick with it. I mean, it was hard. I'm not a huge crier. I get
Okay.
really frustrated with.
I mean, most men aren't, and we cry slightly different.
Sure, I get frustrated with because I think it's important to cry. In the moment, it never feels like, yeah, let's cry. But I think it's important to cry. But my girlfriend, when I cry, I mean, she cries. She's a crier.
Yeah.
And when I cry, she immediately starts crying too. Just the sight of me crying is also incites her to cry. And I will say sometimes, I'm like, stop. You have to let me
Stop
be
stealing
the
my
criers.
tears.
And and then she does her best. But it is, I've been trying to think
That's
of
really
some kind of bit for
funny.
it because it's if she sees me cry, she cries.
I do that too. I love crying. Like
You love it,
But you have to
See,
let
that's
other
hard to
people
understand.
cry.
I feel like I have to go through that, and I have like phases where I just like cry like a bunch, and then I feel better.
Yeah. I wish I cried
I
more.
need to.
When I was an actor, I used to try to cry once a day. Like I tried to be disciplined about acting in a weird way. Where it'd be like I'd listen to a sad song or I'd think about something. I wanted to like use it as a muscle. But it's just not in my DNA, and whether it's societal.
Yeah.
Man, we never know.
You don't need to
what's
force
societal,
it.
what's
I remember watching Robert De Niro cry in a movie, and I'm like, oh, so it doesn't have to be like all tears.
yeah.
It looked how a guy cries. It was like sort of watery eyes. And I'm like, but he's crying. And I'm like, okay, cool.
I think it's just so much about that's something I think is like nature versus nurture. I think it's nurture where people I know who cry a lot, it's like you meet their parents and their parents are both like criers.
Yeah.
And, like I didn't see my dad cry until like later. And man, the first time I saw my dad cry, that was a real the world is collapsing around me.
Yeah.
And I have no longer have a pillar of strength in my life.
The only time I've seen my dad sort of cry is when we were watching Forrest Gump in the theaters before.
Yeah.
I don't know at what point in the movie, but I'm like, you never cried for me? Like, there's so many opportunities to show emotion, but Forrest Gump, Tom Hanks gets your cry, but not me?
I have a friend, I don't know if he would make this story public, but his father, once a year, they watch It's a Wonderful Life. His dad's not a crier. And every time they finish the movie,
Boom.
his dad goes like, excuse me? And he goes in his room and like cries.
Oh my god.
And like,
awesome.
it's like, I mean, there's something poetic. I mean, the
It is
toxic
kinda
masculinity and like men of that era who went to war and like are
Yeah.
fucked up in a deep way. But there is something like from outside that's like, oh, this is like incredible. It's just artistic. This is a person who never cries, but once a year lets themselves, and they go to their room. Like if you're watching a nature documentary and you're like, when a cat is about to die, they hide away. And it's just like, this is like the nature of a man.
Yeah, because it's so rare, it increases the value of those tears.
Yeah.
It's like a lunar eclipse,
Yeah.
if that's rare. What when your girlfriend cries, when you cry, is it like competitive?
I definitely feel like I'm
Thank
like,
God she's not a comedian.
I'm like, she's
Dude, then she'd be like, oh, you think you're sad? Well, watch this. Boom.
She definitely like, it'll, for me there's crying, there's a tear, and then there's sobbing.
Yeah.
There's, and like, she's definitely more easily able to go there than I am.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, she'll cry more. It just happens faster. It just like, it's just it feels like a natural flow for me. Sometimes I'll like, step on the gas a little because you're like, you want to have like an orgasm type relief of just like a like.
Yeah. That's why I wish I
once
could
you
cry
start,
more.
You can't stop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a
Like, it
multiple
just, like,
orgasm.
keeps-
Yeah. I don't think I've ever come while crying. Maybe when I went through like the breakup of that college person, like there was probably there was a long like a month of like crazy crying.
So you probably masturbated and cried.
Yeah, I was probably crying. I was probably like crying, and then like to try to relieve it, tried to masturbate.
I think I've done that before. But I don't know if they coincide at the same time, but I was probably so sad, and then I went to masturbation, but it didn't like merge. The tears didn't merge into semen somehow.
I was using it as lube. I was just like,
yeah.
I don't know what it's like. I'm not going to put the question because it was a very graphic question, but I know like for men, we could come whatever circumstance we're in. I could be anxious and
Men
I could make
cry
myself
like
come. I could be horrified, scared, sad, and like that come the immediate emotional shift to just like a slightly numbing of everything, a cooling down of everything is pretty intense.
Yeah.
Like if I come, I won't cry for a little bit.
No.
Sure.
Men come like women cry. We cry with our dick.
I used to think with acting, because I always wanted to be more emotional, I wanted to be more in tune, that I thought like, oh, don't try not to masturbate like the day of like a play.
Wow.
Because you want. I know like some athletes did that. I know there was a famous opera singer, and he would never, he was fucking everyone, I guess, but he would never have sex the night before a show.
But then you're performing with an erection. You're like, fuck, this wasn't a good choice.
But there's obviously something about, every time someone is a suicide bomber or a school shooter, part of you's like, I bet if someone jerked him off right before this,
oh yeah,
I don't think it would happen. Because like so much about it, you always hear with some of it, it's a lot about sex.
Yeah,
like at least some of these,
they're pent up.
These school shooters. I think sometimes these guys, they feel like losers.
Yeah,
and they immediately in their head they're like, no one's ever gonna want to fuck me. My first girlfriend, the first person I had sex with, like I went through a phase where like first I was coming too fast and then I couldn't get it up, and I'm not a rageful in that way, but I thought for a moment I was like, oh, I can't get it up, I will never have love, no woman will ever be with me if I don't have this element, and it's just like the spiral, and I was 18. And like you just don't have any sense of perspective or like, oh, this will be fine. You remember is the Kinsey experiment or whatever? There was some famous poll where like everyone was like, wait, how many people are doing anal? Wait, how many blah blah blah? And it's like, yeah.
I remember a Kinsey experiment. I don't remember it about
people
anal.
Are weird.
They're weird.
People are freaks. Like there's more freaks than anything.
Weird. Every time you think like, oh, this is weird though, like this, and then you go on Pornhub, and Pornhub really revealed you're like, well, clearly they're not making all this incest porn for me.
And you look
like,
at the views.
Why is this at the top of every page? And then you see the ads. You see the ads, and I'm like, Jesus Christ! Some of these ads. Who wanted to see Homer fuck Lisa? Like, clearly there's a market for that.
I've seen ads for the Family Guys
people
having sex with each other.
There's weird something with the cartoons where it's like, I'm like, Bart fucking Marge. That's like incest pedophilia. That's weird as fuck. But it's like it's there on my ads.
There's
I'm not
like
clicking
a map
it. It's there in my targeted ads for some reason.
Porn is like I was thinking about where like I think about I try to get my comedy videos to get all these views, and then you go to porn, and like even the grungiest on the phone has 8 million views.
I know, it doesn't matter.
8 million people jerked off to it, and yet these are like these porn performers. They're probably they have not been paid. They were paid in pizza, but 8 million people. Your senators, your president. Everyone's watching it, and these people like aren't famous, and in fact they're dejected from society. Like
no,
they're
not famous, but they are famous in a way.
Is so shock. I can't imagine having to live with it as a porn star, to be judged and kind of people judge you, and knowing that like so many of them have jerked off to you, and still being like not accepted in society. It must be so enraging.
But Lana Rhoades, I was looking at her Instagram the other day because someone brought her up. Do you know who Lana Rhoades is?
It sounds familiar.
She's a porn star. 16.8 million followers on Instagram. She did porn for 4 months. she's set for life, I would imagine, financially with that kind of
Some of
following.
them, but like think about
Some
how
of
many
them,
are
yeah.
out there.
But just 4 months of sex.
That's crazy.
She has a baby now, so it's like baby pictures and then like booty pictures. It's a little confusing. Before we close out, how can I promote you?
Just listen to my podcast, The Downside.
The Downside.
And follow me online. It's Gianmarco Soresi on all the platforms.
And we'll have your name spelled out on everything. You also have an incredibly funny Comedy Central set out.
Thank you.
Multiple credits in acting and big things to come. Everyone, thank you so much for tuning into Why Did I Say That with Gibran Saleem. If you guys like this episode, continue to follow us. If you haven't, on Spotify, YouTube, Instagram, everything available. We're on all platforms. Shout out to our PA, Sophia Mendoza. I'm Gibran Saleem, and we'll see you soon. Bye.